Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the CineMatch podcast. The podcast where we take different movies every single week and continue to find new ways to debate and rate them. This week we're back with another CineMatch Showdown. It's hard to describe really because they're very, very well-known TV shows, but they both had pretty solid movies that made quite an impact on cinema. So we're going to be doing the Simpsons movie, which was released in 2007, I believe, against South Park. What's the actual subtitle on that? Do you know it?
Bigger, longer, and uncut.
That's what we're certainly uncut. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're going to be doing the Simpsons movie versus the South Park movie, which came out in 1999, I believe, off the top of my head. Two great animated films. I'd say both are very adult films. One of them is very adult.
Definitely.
We'll get into soon. But before we get started on it, I wanted to touch on where they both came from, which is obviously the TV shows. And were you big fans of the TV shows growing up, or is it the sort of thing where you came into the film without really knowing what had happened before?
Simpsons obviously grew up with younger, because everybody grows up with Simpsons. I was at the age where we watched it on a channel 4 at tea time before it went over to BBC. No, BBC before it went over to Channel 4. I can't remember, but one or the other. And I remember watching that as a kid. And then growing up, I wasn't I wasn't like everybody else that loved South Park, watched it all the time, and like was able to get away with it. But when I watched it, loved it, and then ended up loving it a lot more when I was older. I'd probably watched the film more times than I've watched the TV shows. Like if we was literally add up the hours, I probably spent more time watching the film than I had the TV shows. Love the movie, love both of them. I remember when the Simpsons movie came out, obviously, people criticised it for being too different from the show and whatever. But I think they're both fantastic movies. So I'm glad that we're doing them.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to touch on. I don't know. With the Simpsons movie, like I said, that a lot of people criticised it for being too different, but I feel like it came out at the perfect time because it feels like after that, the TV show kind of went downhill anyway, and it's nothing like it was. So to me, it feels like it was that last hint of the good to Simpsons. I watched both when I was younger. Like Simpsons was something that was always on because for me, I'm at an age where it was on Channel 4 6 o'clock before Hollyoaks.
Yeah, so
and that's when we watched it.
Channel 2 because I'm definitely older.
Yeah, and then it went to Sky One, I think, which I didn't really watch it after that. But with The Simpsons, I try to rewatch a few episodes every year, especially like around Halloween and Christmas. I always revisit like the Treehouse of Horror episodes, or at Christmas I like to watch that very first episode where he gets Santa's little helper. South Park was one where as a teenager it just kind of came out of nowhere. I'd never really heard much of it, and then my friend showed it me, and I remember specifically it was year 9, the summer holidays after year 9 before year 10, and we must have stayed up till like 6 a.m, like 5 days a week. He'd come to mine and we just sit in my living room watching it. I don't think my mum ever knew what we were watching because I think she'd have probably put a stop to it if she did, but it's a show that I haven't really revisited in a very long time, and the movie I'd only watched maybe a couple of times when I was younger, so it felt really fresh going back. Yeah. And the Simpsons one, similarly, I think I've only watched the Simpsons movie once ever, and that was in the cinema when it came out. So
okay, I've watched it, like the Simpsons. Like both of them. South Park definitely more, but the Simpsons movie I've probably watched like a fair few times as well. Because, like I say, I love them both. But yeah, it's. I fully agree with you. The Simpsons does kind of feel like the end of the good period of the Simpsons, and with South Park as well. It was that. I mean, you definitely strike me as the kind of person that watched South Park when they were younger. Take that how you will. But with South Park, I think watching the TV episodes, same with like you said with The Simpsons, I won't go back and rewatch all of them. I'll go back and rewatch my favorite episodes, like obviously the World of Warcraft episode and Kenny's Dreamland and all the ones involving heaven and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's Casa Bonita, obviously. Oh, and the COVID specials that could have been a sequel movie, and I wish they did it as a sequel movie properly. But it's not something that I will actively go and fully rewatch. Just go spend some time with my favorite episodes, kind of thing.
So before we get into it, then that's just reminded me of one thing, because I've not watched South Park in a long time, and rewatching this movie now is really interesting because there's a lot of stuff that you feel like wouldn't fly today. But having watched more recent episodes, do they still do that same stuff?
Oh yeah.
So they just don't hold back still.
Yeah, they still don't hold back.
It's wild how they never got cancelled for some of the stuff that they pull off, but it's like they exist in their own little realm where they can say whatever they want, and no celebrities that they ever like mock ever seem to care, which is
except for Kanye and
yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, so without further ado, then we'll get started on this showdown with the Simpsons versus the South Park movie. I'm going to let you go first this time because I always go first in these.
Well, I'm going to go first by saying your name's Cal Alternate.
Oh shit! Yeah, that is my name. That is my name.
Forever your co-host. No,
yeah,
Who was it that said to me the other day? I was like, "When's he going to stop calling you co-host and just another host?" And I'm like, "Well, I am his co-host." And then there was like, "It's Cal's podcast." I was like, "No, it's ours."
Someone's trying to stir the pot. That's what they want. They want us apart. People don't like this chemistry that we're building.
Speaking of chemistry, do you know what today is? It's our 10th episode together, Cal.
Is it?
Yeah, this would be our 10th one.
Oh Christ! Wait, so are you sure?
Yeah, because it's episode 12, isn't it? You did 2 episodes before without me, back before you got tased, and then ever since.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is
double figures.
Yeah, 10th episode together.
And what a treat it is.
How do you feel about that? Did you? Before, let's just spend a bit of time on me for a second, because we don't
do that enough.
No, never. Did you think it would last this long with me?
Before we've recorded the first one, I wasn't too sure, but after the first one, I thought actually
you weren't too sure. You were giving me nothing but compliments and saying, "Oh, it'll be fine." Ah, the lie.
It's called reassuring. But
building confidence.
After the first one, I don't know why I doubted it, because after the first one, I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy can talk for fucking England, so we'll be sound." Like, there's gonna be no dead air when you're speaking, so
I'll take that as a compliment.
Do you know what else that reminds me? Because you said today is obviously special. The day we're recording this, I don't know if it was a coincidence or you saw it and that's why I did it, but I saw they were showing the South Park movie at cinemas today.
No, 100% coincidence.
If it would have recorded a day later, that's when I'd have done my rewatch. But yeah, I just saw it earlier that they're showing it today, and I was like, that's a crazy coincidence. But anyway, enough sidetracking. But yeah, 10 episodes. I'm Cal, you're Nathan, my host. See, that sounds weird. You're not my host.
No, I'm okay with it. I need more. What I need is more power, because being able to go on social media and putting out opinions that I know full well that you don't agree with.
Yeah, that whole shit with Lightyear.
Already too much power.
Yeah, that Lightyear stuff was an absolute debacle. It's like not to touch on quotes, but is it in Simpsons when that guy says you've gone power mad, and he says, "Well, yeah, because have you ever tried going mad without power?"
It's boring.
Yeah, that's you.
Cool. Should we start at the start then? Opening?
Yeah, we might as well. We've ratted on for enough about absolute nonsense.
Obviously, as always.
Yeah, we'll start with the opening then. I'll let you talk about the openings of both films and then let us know how you rated them.
So Simpsons opening obviously starts with a classic itchy and scratchy episode. Great way to open a Simpsons movie. I think it kind of does that Pixar thing where you've got a bit of a short movie before the main movie, and like tying it into the Simpsons universe as well was really, really cool. And actually making it a part of the movie rather than a separate thing. Really, really cool. Proper funny as well. That instance, like, okay, is going to be like the TV show, because it just feel like an itchy and scratchy episode. And then from there, you kind of get the classic Simpson opening, as you go through the town, and you get the recreation of the intro with a few extra jokes in there. And then we jump straight to Green Day on the barge, which I always love. One of the main reasons I love this movie. I love that Green Day version of the song. And then setting up the plot of the pollution in the lake, which obviously comes into play massively later on. I love the Simpsons opening. It's fantastic. It genuinely just feels like an episode of the TV show as it's opening up with, like I say, with the itchy and scratchy, with the with the kind of the opening, which Lisa and Marge and Maggie get a bit shafted in that opening. They don't get a bit of an extra bit, but yeah, absolutely love that. All the TV show reminiscence and introducing the side characters, the classic side characters we all know, and then South Park. I remember watching South Park the movie for the first time, and I was speaking to somebody we work with about this the other day, and you're watching it going, oh, we love South Park. It's going to be rude. It's going to be crude. It's going to be dirty. And then it opens up with like a musical number, and you're like, what the fuck? Like immediately. And I remember because we've talked about this, is why we were going to do a musical episode today, and we struggled so much because I couldn't give you any options because I fucking hate musicals. So as somebody who's always hated musicals, opening it up to a musical number, like I remember for the first time watching it being like, what the fuck is this shit? Which is why I went 10 to South Park, because I fucking love the opening to South Park. It sets up the town, it sets up the characters, it sets up the tone. The song is a banger. If anybody asks me if I like musicals, I'd say no, but I love South Park. It's an absolute banger. It's hilarious. It sets everything up. And yeah, 10-9 to South Park. Easily. I do love The Simpsons, but easily 10-9 to South Park.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I think it's interesting because I feel like when it opens up with that song and the Stan's like gathering the gang before they go watch the Terrence and Phillip movie, I feel like there's not any foul language at all up until they sit down to watch that film. So I feel like it was almost like the creators are like almost teasing that, no, we're a bit more tamer now that we're on the big screen. And then it was like, actually, we're not. We're fucking much worse. Which I loved. And I love that song at the beginning. It's actually really catchy. Like, to say South Park's obviously like a huge piss take, and you'd assume the musical will be a piss take. The songs are actually like really well written, and I think they're all really catchy, so I like that. But I think the Simpsons one with, like you said, the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, which is really fucking funny. Like having the way the Itchy becomes president, and then he's on the moon and sends the fucking nuclear missiles up there is so funny. And then, like you said, Green Day.
I like the bit when like he's contemplating what to do, and it's like it's gone a little bit black and white, and he's sat there like dead serious. It gets me every fucking time.
It is really, and he's pacing backwards and forwards outside. It is really good. But yeah, the edit, like the modified opening with Green Day playing the song and the little extra bits he added. And I really particularly loved when Bart's writing on the chalkboard and it says, "I will not pirate this movie." I think that's really funny. And the fact that they just straight up kill Green Day immediately is just like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it must have cost a bit of money to get Green Day in the film and to do that. And then just to immediately kill them is quite wild.
I love that it's like, what is it? It's okay, we've been playing for 3.5 hours now. I'd like to take a second to talk about the environment. And then everybody fucking turns. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much how it fucking goes at their concert.
Yeah, but yeah, both openings are really good. But I think because of the star power and like the way they killed Green Day off immediately, I think it was really. And they wasted no time getting to the general plot with the pollution and stuff like that. So I went 10-9 in favor of The Simpsons because, again, the theme tune's iconic, but giving it that like the punk rock edge, I loved it. I thought it was class.
I genuinely had that like on playlists that I listen to on a regular. I'm a massive Green Day fan, so not going in favor of Green Day is a bit of a shock for me. But I absolutely love that version. But you can't discredit the fact that obviously now it's like not a big deal. But when the film first came out, like even seeing the back of Kenny's head, like with the hair, was like it was this huge deal. It was like, oh my god, he's got blonde hair, and it was massive. So you've also got that in the opening. But yeah, both great openings. Yeah,
they really set the tone for what to expect going on, I think. With Simpsons, it's obviously a lot more tame, but they find a little more nuances in the jokes, where South Park, it was like the gang getting together and it was like, yeah, we're trying something new in the musical, and then they sat down in the theater and we watched Terrence and Phillip, and it was just like, actually no, this is South Park, don't worry, nothing's different. Which must have been nice for you after you heard that song.
Why not? Why nice for me?
Because you heard the song the first time.
Right, yeah.
I don't mean the Uncle Fucker song.
I also love the fact that the music swells and is like at the end of the song, the music swells and it's like, oh, I have 4 tickets to Terrence and Phillip, and the guy's like, no. It fucking gets me every time.
Yeah, that is funny. But yeah, we'll move on then to the ending of both films. Or should I do story first?
Which one? Yay. As I've been told, it's your podcast, not mine. You do whatever you want.
I think the Instagram begs to differ with all the Lightyear propaganda.
Is that what we're calling it? Propaganda? Okay.
Yeah. Fine, we'll go story because it makes sense to do ending after that. We'll go beginning, middle, end. Beautiful. So the stories for both, I'll talk about now, because the Simpsons one, it's quite weird to me actually, because I feel like the Simpsons story, it feels like it's several small stories, like with one overwhelming one, like surrounding the entire thing. Like you've got Lisa falling in love with some Irish kid that plays music.
Not Bono's kid.
You've got Bart bonding with Ned Flanders and kind of wishing he was his dad. You've got the whole pollution thing, and then it all escalates with the government putting a dome around Springfield. And
not getting Marge and Homer's tension.
Yeah, well, yeah, that escalates because of it, doesn't it? And like the way the entire town turns on the family because of, or should I say the entire family, just Homer as the mob lets them know quite quickly. But yeah, they turn on Homer after it's revealed he is the reason for the pollution, and the Simpsons have to escape and go on the run. And then it somehow comes out that they're going to bomb Springfield, and they kind of put it on the news. I mean, they say there's nothing there, but like 90% of the country is probably aware that there's a town there.
You trust Tom Hanks, though, don't you?
Very true. Yeah, very true. Which I think it's funny that they got him in just for that small role as well. Like they must have paid a fortune for Tom Hanks and Green Day, and they had him in such minor roles. It's quite surprising.
You got to imagine that people love Simpsons, and that they would have happily done it as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They've had loads of like famous guest stars on in the past, haven't they? So it makes sense that they get a couple for the film. But yeah, then after the whole bomb situation, that the family decided to rush back, albeit separately, after Homer takes a little bit more convincing to try to save the town, and they get all that palaver. And then the South Park one, it feels like a much more contained story to me, apart from Kenny, who disappears from the group halfway through, as he does in every episode of the show. I feel like I'm not sure there's many I've ever seen where he survives to the end.
It's like, I think the movie was the turning point. So after the movie, he stayed dead. So after the movie, it kind of, they didn't use that as the joke anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Kind of move past the whole "you kill Kenny," which is,
so they don't do that in the new episodes now.
No, not really.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. It's a good joke. I like it. They're just the elaborate ways they can kill him. Like I think in the movie, it's so funny. Like he just farts and sets himself on fire, and then has a potato put in his chest. But yeah, anyway, back to the South Park story. It's obviously the guys watched the Terrence and Phillip movie and developed these very brash personalities because of it. Yeah. Whereas, and the way the situation escalates with the families and how they disapprove, and it's like the most over-the-top reaction where Terrence and Phillip are arrested by the government and threatened with execution, so America and Canada go to war, and all while Satan and Saddam Hussein are pulling the strings from hell.
It's classic South Park.
It is funny. I don't even think Saddam Hussein was dead at that point, was he?
No, he must have been. That would be the only thing that makes sense.
I didn't think he died until like the early 2000s. Like, but it's funny. It's really good. Both stories are great. The Simpsons one, for me, it feels like I said, there's a bit too much going on in different areas, and it feels like several small episodes put together. Whereas the South Park story, I think it feels like the TV show has been made into a movie. Like the stakes feel higher. Obviously, episodes after the film brought those similar sort of stakes up, and we got something like really over the top stories eventually. But I feel like at the time, the movie just took everything from the show and elevated it, and I love that story. I love how over the top it is. I love the whole Terrence and Phillip shit. I think it's great. I love Kenny going to hell. I think it's brilliant. So I went 10-9 in favor of South Park for that reason.
Oh, I wonder if we'll have a whole episode of disagreeing. This will be interesting because I went 10-9 to Simpsons for the reason that you went 10-9 for South Park. I like that South Park's very linear. It's one story kind of going up. But I like the multiple stories of The Simpsons. Like, 'cause it obviously all ties in together and they all kind of run parallel to each other. But I like the separate nature of it all and how one affects the other, because it genuinely feels like a Simpsons episode. Because if you watch a Simpsons episode now, it's never like one plot. It's always two plots, an A plot and a B plot. This had a C and a D as well. I love the whole Bart like wanting a father figure and then in the end accepting like when he says I'll let you hold the bomb, he's like, he just knows me. Fucking brilliant. And the Marge and Homer stuff, like, I know it's a cartoon, I know it's not serious, but it fucking gets me every time. When she's like, to tell you I'm serious, I taped over the wedding video. Every time I'm like, no, because these are like my childhood family. The Lisa stuff's not as strong, admittedly, like, but she drives the whole pollution part. But I really love the Simpsons story. It's just out there enough to like South Park. 'Cause at the time, like, Simpsons didn't go big and stupid all the time either. To like South Park, it took The Simpsons and escalated it massively in a way that every character can get involved. Whilst feeling like a movie. And I know there's going to be a category we're doing later that talks a bit more about this. So South Park feels like it could have been, because South Park's pretty famous for doing like 3-4 parters, like with the COVID and the Heaven War and all that kind of stuff. And South Park feels like it could have been a 2-part, 3-part episode special, whereas Simpsons felt like a movie. Like, it didn't feel like it felt enough like an episode to feel like The Simpsons, but not enough the way it didn't feel like a movie, if that makes any kind of sense.
I'm not sure if it does. Can't lie to you.
Well, it's fine. I've said it now.
Yeah. All right, that's interesting. We have completely different views on it. This is more like it. This is what I want. I don't want to agree with you.
Though I do like should I wait for the quotes? I know. I love how over the top South Park gets, to the point where like Kyle's mum has replaced like the president in authority. And I love the bit with Conan O'Brien where they come to America and they're like ratted out by Conan.
So he throws himself out of a building.
He throws himself out of a building. Yeah. And yeah, I love the South Park story. I just think in comparison, the Simpsons movie just works better for me. There's a lot I love about the South Park movie. I'd never think about the story. It's the songs and the characters and the jokes and the quotes.
Yeah, but does the Simpsons movie have a gay romance between Satan and Saddam Hussein in its story? Because that could have been the tide that turned things for me.
That's a very good point. I rewatched it yesterday. I can't remember if it was in there or not.
Exactly. We'll move on then to the best ending. I'll let you go first this time then.
So ending to Simpsons is obviously all the family get back in. Homer tries to redeem himself by making things worse as per usual, and then eventually does redeem himself by like exploding the dome. It's another one of those really quick endings like we've talked about before, where they destroy the dome and then everything's kind of resolved really quickly, but it's done in a nice way that still again has callbacks, like finally jumping the Springfield Gorge, but able to do it as a father and son, and then they get back over and the ambulance from when it first happened still there, and you see all the characters in Dr. Nick being the one that's crushed by the massive shard of glass, and then it just kind of ends with Homer and Marge driving off into the sunset. It's like a proper, I feel like they tried to do that proper cliche ending to a movie rather than do anything big and deep. But I do love it because you've got the resolution of Bart and Homer, like I said, where he says like he just knows me, and they have that great like action set piece, and you know Lisa gets to finally gets the guy after years of being the absolute fucking dork. Maggie doesn't really get any. Oh no, Maggie fucking knocks the guy out. So Maggie gets a great ending as well, which is right on point with Maggie, like practically killing someone. So yeah, just straightforward, great ending. Again, lots of callbacks, and then South Park ends pretty much the same as well, except for instead of motorbiking around a glass dome, you've got fucking Eric Cartman using his ability to swear to go full Super Saiyan Dragon Ball Z to destroy Saddam Hussein.
It's hard to say it with a straight face, isn't
it? So yeah, Cartman uses his swear words to shoot electricity from his body to defeat Saddam Hussein, who is then Darth Vadered by Satan and had his guts impaled. And it's an easy one, 10-9 to South Park for the pure fact. Not only do we have all that, ending his big special move with the words Barbra Streisand, but we fucking see Kenny. We hear Kenny as well. That feels like not just fan service, but like earned fan service as well. Like this tension of this thing that's been built up for ages, and we finally see him, which is great that they tease at the beginning of the movie as well, because you think, oh, that's all we're ever going to see of him. But again, as soon as that happens, there's all the snow melts, the grass comes out, the flowers come out, there's fucking rainbows, they're all singing together, the fucking Free Willy jumps at the end. And they all burst into song. It's stupid, but it feels like the right ending to that film. Whereas Simpsons, while it's good, just kind of ends on I feel it's safer than South Park.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the case throughout the entire film. I don't think there's much that isn't safer than South Park at this point. Yeah, obviously, there's also those little bits, I think, when the movie ends, and it's annoying when movies do this, because I don't know whether to class it as the ending, but when The Simpsons ends and the credits roll, it quickly comes back and we see like Bart and Homer working on the roof, and he accidentally nails the plank to himself and falls off. Although the next one with Mr. Burns really, really tickled me this time, when he sat with Smithers and they've been ransacked, and he says something like, I don't believe in suicide, but if you want to give it a try, it might cheer me up.
When we get to the quotes round, it's going to get hard.
I know, yeah. I mean, we're not going to be allowed to say it after, we'll get cancelled. But yeah, that scene was really funny. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like the Simpsons ending felt really safe, and it felt almost like childlike. It felt like at that point, it felt like it was aimed at children. Like it was such a nice ending, and everything just got resolved simply. There was nothing to it. Whereas the South Park one is just way over the fucking top. Like I said, the whole Cartman stuff, just swearing and using it like lightning bolts at Saddam Hussein, who keeps swearing at Satan to help him, and it turns, and it, like you said, it is like Darth Vader on Sirius when he picks him up and throws him down the hole, and he ends up getting put through that spike.
I like the bit where Saddam Hussein goes, I'm sorry, I can change, and Cartman's like, oh, okay, and everybody's like, and he goes, Nat.
It is really funny. It is really, really funny. That whole stuff is brilliant.
I'd start doing some South Park impression, but I'm not confident in any South Park impression I could do.
No, I don't think I could do any. I think they're all so good. Although I will tell you, not to step on quotes too much, but there's a certain scene in this where as a kid, I used to quote it all the time. Like, me and my friends knew it word for word.
I think I know the answer, Mr. Garrison.
Yeah, that's the one. We knew every word to that. We used to say it to each other all the time.
Same.
But yeah, it's brilliant. But yeah, I think, like you said, with the South Park ending, seeing Kenny, it felt cinematic. It felt like a moment that was saved for a movie. It felt like a big deal. I think saving it for the end just elevated it way beyond anything the Simpsons did. So yeah, this is our first time we'll agree, because I went 10-9 in favour of that as well.
I also like that the big speech at the end is Kenny when he's still wearing the hood and you can't fucking understand a word.
Yeah. I do love though that he the ending of it is essentially him just flying towards heaven and towards naked women.
Yeah.
I'm just heading towards naked women. I think it's such a funny way to end the film, because it's the way it's framed in the film, it's really uplifting and emotional, but it's actually just a young boy heading towards naked women. It's so funny. So yeah, I agreed with you there. I went 10-9 in favor of South Park as well. It was hard not to.
Yeah, it's a great ending.
Right, then we'll move on then to the main groups in both, because obviously usually we do main character, but I feel like both films, there's not just the one, there's like an ensemble in both. You've obviously got the Simpsons family in the Simpsons movie, and in South Park you've got, yeah, surprisingly. And then in South Park you've got the group of friends that we've all come to know and love. You've got Stan, Cartman, Kenny, and Kyle. This one's hard. This one's really, really hard for me.
I know what you're about to fucking do.
I'm not. I didn't do it.
Fucking hell.
Didn't do it. I didn't do it. I went 10-9 in favor of The Simpsons, simply because I feel like I've spent more time with The Simpsons. I've watched this more of The Simpsons, not symptoms. That's weird.
How many symptoms have you watched?
Too many. So I'm at the doctor's 24/7. But no, I've spent way too much time watching The Simpsons in comparison to South Park, and I feel like like you said earlier, it's almost like they were family growing up, and they were such a lovable group of characters. Like I said, I rewatched the Christmas episode and the Halloween episodes every single year. I've been to like Orlando, been on like the Simpsons ride and stuff like that, and the characters are just iconic. You see them everywhere, and I think that is because they are obviously more PG, whereas the South Park cast, who I think it's fucking brilliant, and I think Eric Cartman's one of the funniest characters in anything ever, but it's hard to really take them outside of that medium and put them anywhere. They don't get the same sort of celebration as the Simpsons do, and they're not anywhere near as iconic, I don't think. And as much as I love every single one of those characters, I don't think the legacy and the way they're framed, it just doesn't come close to what the Simpsons have become over the years. Like there's certain quotes from the Simpsons that people that don't even watch it know. Like people know Eat My Shorts and Dough, they know where they're from. So it's no contest for me. 10-9 Simpsons. I didn't go 10-10. I went 10-9.
Good, because if you went 10-10, I'd be livid.
Although it's interesting, I did just say then it's no contest, despite saying how hard it was. So I'm just contradicting myself.
If it were no contest, then this podcast would matter. It's the whole premise of this podcast.
Yeah, it's not a contest anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you didn't go 10-10 because I'm going to be a hypocrite and I couldn't decide, so I went 10-10.
That is shocking. That's some shame, man.
You know what? I was obviously on the Instagram on the off days, or if I just find something funny, I've started just doing like templates with like things overlaid over pictures and stuff. And there was one, I can't remember what it fucking was, but I was like, that is perfect for when Cal picks a 10-10. That's perfect for when Cal goes 10-8.
Yeah, well, who's 10-10 now?
Me, because everything you said about The Simpsons is right. Grew up with them. Each character is perfect. Like Marge is perfect. Bart is perfect. Lisa, Maggie still the best character. Homer obviously changed a lot over the years, but this is kind of like the Homer that I like. Before he went, like he's stupid and he's whiny and he's like a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of an imbecile. But later on in the newer Simpsons, he's like proper stupid. He's like irredeemably stupid. He's got no heart to him, whereas the film still does. But Maggie is still the best character of the family. So not going to like harp on much more about the Simpsons because other than each member of the family gets a time to shine in the movie, like impressively so as well. Like the bit where Bart gets drunk in the motel room, fucking hilarious. But everybody gets their own kind of emotional journey, except for Maggie, who just fucking wrecking fools as per usual. But I do disagree with the South Park's not as iconic. I think, especially our generation, because we are of a similar generation.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But people of our age and around that age, my age, sorry, and around that age, you are much younger than me. 10 years, 24, are you?
Oh, I wish. 27.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're similar.
Not even close.
Like, everybody knows them. Like you even said it then, you can recite parts of the quotes from the movie. Like, everybody of that kind of era knows the four South Park boys. Everybody knows Kenny. Everybody knows Cartman, and like the Simpsons felt like your family growing up. The South Park boys felt like your friends growing up. In like try not to sound as much of a loser as possible, but everybody had a friend group, and everybody, like, especially I know me for definite, like that's how we would talk with our friends. Like the bit where they're talking about, I can't believe that Kenny died, and Cartman's like, I'm just glad I don't have to give him $10, whatever it says. Like that's the kind
I think it's $100.
$100, yeah. That's the kind of shit that I say now. Like, so I genuinely think they're just as iconic, and like as well as you to just measure them in this movie. Like again, everybody gets their own time to shine. Cartman gets the V chip. You know, Stan has all of this stuff trying to find the clitoris.
We should have touched on that in story, but we didn't.
No, we never touched the clitoris. Kyle has all the stuff with his mum, and obviously Kenny has everything in hell, which is brilliant, being like Satan's little counselor. His little agony aunt, brilliant. So yeah, that's why I couldn't pick one over the other. They're very different, obviously. Simpsons is way more family friendly, but I had to go 10-10 because I couldn't decide one over the other. Definitely not, especially the movie iterations.
No, it was hard. I think.
Oh no, sorry,
of...
no contest.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that. It was hard, and like in terms of like animated families or animated groups, I think these two are some of the very best. I don't know. It's hard. It's difficult. It's hard, yeah, very hard.
That's so defeated. Oh, I don't know.
Well, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do a 10-10, and I refused to take the cheat way. I had to go with an answer, and I went Simpsons.
Are you looking at your sheet now going, fuck, I've used a 10-10 somewhere else?
No, I actually haven't. I haven't used one.
No?
None at all. Might be a 10-8 on there somewhere, though. Yeah, we'll move on then to the supporting cast in both films, because as in the TV shows, the two movies are just filled with very, very deep ensemble cast of like the iconic characters that are in both shows. I'll let you go first, but obviously we've got so many different characters in both that have become iconic throughout the shows, like, and it's nice to see them on the big screen. There's a couple that I feel like weren't given enough justice, which I'll touch on when I give my score, but I'll let you go first now.
Yeah, I think similarly to the main characters, a lot of the fan favorites got a chance to shine. Like in South Park, Mr. Mackey got his own song. Mr. Garrison had one of the best scenes in the movie. Obviously, you got Satan in there. I like the mole, who's introduced in this movie, and I wish he'd come back for the TV show. Obviously he's dead, but I wish he'd come back for the TV show. You know, Wendy. It's a shame that the film came out before Butters became such a big part of the TV show, because I imagine Butters would have been great in the film, but he wasn't that big of a character beforehand. Same with Token or Tolkien. But yeah, South Park has everybody kind of gets a nice little time to shine. Like again, Randy he wasn't as big when the film came out, so I imagine the film would have been massively different if all those characters, if the film was made after those characters became popular, because they usually take up a lot more screen time. So I do like the South Park stuff, but you can't deny the supporting cast of The Simpsons. So obviously 10-9 to Simpsons, because like every single side character in that film, in that franchise is brilliant. Controversial or not, like they are all brilliant. Like opening up with Apu changing the date on the expired milk, and the bit with Edna Krabappel sat on top of Skinner's shoulders. He's got a T-shirt on that says "Not my boyfriend," and you know when Lisa's going and knocking on door to door, and Sea Captain like drives his boat away. Like I said, Dr. Nick being crushed, and I'm going to save it for the quotes, but like Lenny and Carl have one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. You've got Mo and Barney, and you've got everyone. I like the bit where it's like, and now to make sure it's idiot proof, and they get Cletus to slap George yoke, and he's like, I just can't. It's brilliant. And again, like Mr. Burns, Smithers, like even before the after credits, which is brilliant, is that bit where like Apu's pleading to Mr. Burns to look inside his heart, and Smithers is behind him going like, don't do it, don't do it. It's fucking brilliant. Our Chief Wiggum gets a lot of great moments, like the bit where he tries to eat his donut and nearly blows his fucking head off. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, 10-9 Simpsons, because it's such a historical cast and instantly recognizable supporting cast, and it's again impressive that even if it's like one-off jokes like Martin beating the shit out of the bullies, and he's like, no wonder you guys do it, it feels so good, or whatever he says. And it's amazing just how everybody kind of got their own time to shine.
Yeah, and I think, spoiler alert, I agree with you again. I'm going 10-9 in favour of Simpsons here. And I think because you obviously disagreed with the main characters that the Simpsons are more iconic than the South Park group, but I don't think there's any argument at all that the supporting cast in the Simpsons are way more recognisable and way more iconic than some of the South Park supporting team. Because with the Simpsons, like you said, you've got people like Chief Wiggum, who is just fucking hilarious. I don't want to touch on too much now because of the quotes that we're going to discuss soon, but some of his lines are just brilliant. And it's not even a regular character, but that bomb diffusing robot that ends up shooting itself in the head is fucking so funny. I just think the Simpsons is great.
He was talking about he was going to do it, and I didn't believe it.
Listen. Yeah, it was brilliant. I think the Simpsons cast is awesome, and it's one of those universes where I'm happy to watch them do anything. Like it doesn't even have, it can be the most mundane shit, but if it's those characters, they'll find a way to make it entertaining. Whereas, like you said, the South Park film, I think it didn't benefit from how Butters and especially Randy, who is my favorite character in that entire franchise, like they weren't as prominent back then, so their roles weren't quite as what they would have been if the film was made, say, 5 or 6 years later. Randy especially, I feel like I can't even remember, he's in like maybe 1 or 2 scenes. I can't even remember him saying anything memorable.
He's barely in it.
This is not the man who gets testicular cancer and pushes his Volkswagen in a wheelbarrow, let me tell you. It was disappointing as hell, because I love Randy, and that played a part in this, but I think largely because of how iconic the Simpsons supporting cast is, and especially the roles people like Ned plays, who has a fairly sizable role in the film, and President Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is fantastic. I just think it's brilliant. And yeah, while the main cast was a lot harder, I think this was a very straightforward decision for me, because some of the best characters in South Park weren't quite what they become eventually, so they weren't given that justice, I don't think. So yeah, I went 10-9 as well. Not quite 10-8, but I went 10-9.
No, they're not. It's not 10-8 because you still got like greats like Terrence and Phillip in there, and like I say to Mr. Garrison, Mr. Hat. I like Gregory in the movie as well.
Yeah, he's really funny.
The overly British guy who's just he's not purposely funny. He's just funny in the way he fucking acts. Brilliant. And obviously Big Gay Al as well. Brilliant at the end.
And Chef's always great. I love Chef.
Yeah, Chef's always great.
So yeah, it wasn't a bad cast, but I think compared to the Simpsons one, it wasn't quite on the same level. But we'll move on then to, I think we'll go Legacy next, and how both films have held up over the years. This one again is quite tough because I said to you before, these two are probably two of the best examples of like these sorts of adaptations from TV series into movies, especially animated ones. And I think they've both held up quite well. Well, it depends on what sort of lens you're looking at the South Park one. I mean, there's probably a large chunk of the population who will say that movie does not hold up today because of certain things.
Yeah, but it can't be that bad if they're still releasing it in cinemas.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, it feels weird that they would do that because of some of the lines, some of the jokes. It is kind of strange that they would encourage people to go watch that still. Like, it feels completely against where society is headed in terms of like how almost like more sensitive we are in certain areas and how aware we are of how offensive things can be. But I suppose that's a testament to just South Park's impact on society, that people just willing to overlook it with that series and that movie.
I think a lot of it is around that. Like, I know it's a shitty excuse, but probably why they get away with it so much is that these people, especially Cartman gets away with a fucking lot of shit in this movie. Like the bit during Cal's mom's a bitch when he goes into different languages. Fucking how you still get away with it today is madness. But I think it all boils down to, it's not. They're not saying that. That's not the message that they're saying. They're not saying that this is acceptable. They're saying these people are fucking horrendous. These people are despicable, and it's satirizing these people that actually genuinely believe that their opinions matter and all that kind of stuff. So Cartman is 100% one of those people that genuinely exist, where they're like, no, this is fine. I can do this. I can say this. It's fine. And I think that's a whole part. I think that's a whole part of South Park and how they get away with so much, because they know it's not their views. It's they pick up other people's views and put it out for everybody to see.
Yeah, like you said, they do get away with a lot. Cartman literally injected AIDS into Carl once, and he's not exactly a good person. That's probably my favorite episode, the AIDS Burger episode with Jimmy Buffett. May he rest in peace. Died last week. That episode had me in tears when I watched that as a kid. I thought it was the funniest thing.
When he feeds Scott Tenorman his parents as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think also what helps South Park's legacy and why it's not been cancelled is no one's really off limits. They're not targeting one very specific area. They're targeting everyone on this planet. So it's not like they're taking sides. They're just taking the piss out of everyone, and that's why it probably gets away with so much. Whereas I think the Simpsons movie and the legacy that has is, like I said earlier, I feel like it's that last hint of the Simpsons being what it was. It feels like since then it's gone down a bit of a slippery slope and lost a lot of fans, and the TV show has dipped in quality so much that it's barely recognizable now. It's not the same sort of like storylines that it used to be. Like, it feels like it's gone way over the top now, where it used to be much more like just a family doing everyday stuff but somehow finding the ways to make it funny. Like, I think one of the first episodes when it's about Lisa just wanting to play the saxophone and she meets that guy that looks a bit like Stevie Wonder, and it's like stuff like that then. And nowadays, I mean, I can't talk too much on recent episodes, but there's episodes where they like do like all sorts of ridiculous stuff. Like, it went way over the top and it stopped being just about this small family. So I feel like because the film was that last like remnant of what once was, I think it's held up quite well because of that. And fans who in the years afterwards, maybe not so much now because of where the TV show is, but fans were begging for a sequel for a while, and it's surprising they never made one. Considering it made like $400 million, which is crazy. So because of that, because of the success and because of what it meant to the show at the time, and it felt like it's almost like a time capsule on where the show was compared to where it is now. I went 10-9 in favor of The Simpsons because I think because of where it's gone, that movie is now looked back on much more fondly.
Interesting. It's just getting a bit dark in this room, so I'm going to do a bit of cinematography and change the lighting. Not by much, though.
Oh, God.
I don't fully agree with what you say about The Simpsons, because there's a lot of Simpsons fans, especially like early season Simpsons fans, that think the film was too much and it was more of the later era. I'm not one of them, but in terms of legacy, I think both films warrant a see. Like, I watched the COVID series of South Park episodes and was like, this should have been a movie. It would have been the perfect movie, especially to release after COVID into cinemas. Release that post-COVID special as a movie. I think The Simpsons movie is a great movie and I love it. But I did go 10-9 for South Park because, like, simple things like, yeah, it is coming back to cinema and it is one of those musicals where people go, oh shit, yeah, it's a musical, and then it's got this kind of like a cult status to it as well. And like, I think every South Park fan liked the movie, whereas not every Simpsons fan likes the Simpsons movie. And like you said, it is a bit of a time capsule as to this is kind of like the point before the Simpsons started getting really, really stupid, and it pretty much when Simpsons started going HD. I think it was pretty much around that time, when things got more digital and more that kind of stuff. But in terms of the movies themselves, I know a lot more people that would say that would choose South Park over Simpsons. And yeah, South Park hasn't aged particularly well, especially in some things like the "Cow's Mom's a Bitch" song, some of the quoting, a lot of stuff around Satan and Saddam Hussein probably doesn't age very well, but not bad enough where you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't be watching this, kind of like you do with some films, like, oh, I shouldn't be watching Songs of the South. It's not that kind of bad. It's just different. It's one of those where you wouldn't get it now, so it just kind of feels a little bit more special in a crazy way. So yeah, that's why I went with South Park, 10 Nights South Park.
No, that's fair enough. You do make some decent points there, actually. There are probably more South Park fans that like the South Park movie. But it's funny because you say it probably hasn't aged well. I don't think that movie aged well minutes after it was released. I don't think that's something that got offensive with time. Like, some of the stuff in that film is just outrageous, but it's what they do in it. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was in tears watching it. And a lot of the time now it is due to the sheer disbelief of what they were doing and what they were getting away with. Like, you don't see it anywhere else, so it's fair enough. It has held up in a very interesting way. But yeah, they're both great. I like both. Next, then, which way to go here? We'll go villain.
Yeah, we talked about all the characters. We didn't talk about the villains.
Yeah, we'll go villain. I wrote that fairly low down on when I was making notes, so that's why I just was going through it and realised I hadn't touched it yet. So we'll go villains then. I'll let you go first.
So I in my head went Saddam Hussein versus Russ Cargill. Because
it's interesting though, because is it Saddam Hussein or is it Kyle's mom?
Yeah, I think a bit of both, but I went Saddam Hussein anyway because
I mean it's an easy choice.
Yeah, out of the two, an elderly Jewish woman or Saddam Hussein, I'm going to go Saddam Hussein.
The notorious terrorist, probably good shout. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'll go Mac and that the Mothers Against Canada and Saddam Hussein versus Russ Cargill and the EPA. Either way, South Park wins it. 10-9 easy South Park because it's fucking Saddam Hussein, who is Satan's gay lover, and it's the fucking quote from Kyle's mum where it's where she's talking about the MPAA rating, and it's like violence and whatever is okay as long as they don't have a potty mouth. And it's like you can shoot people, you can kill people, you can maim them, you can blood cover it as long as you don't swear. It's so over the top. Like I said earlier, she infiltrates Conan's TV show and forces him to kill himself. She fucking grabs them and then immediately sets up a whole entertainment show to kill them on stage. Obviously, Saddam Hussein's in the background working his machinations so that Satan can rule the earth, but really it's him. And when he comes down, he's like, bow down to me, and everybody starts bowing down. Fucking Satan says something, he slaps him on the ass and says, "You better seen, not heard." Fucking brilliant. And then like the I Can Change song and all that kind of stuff. It's just brilliant. And like EPA and Russ Cargill just feel like not an afterthought, but like a symptom of the story rather than an actual part of the story. I never once felt like I was bothered about like the parts of him are my least favorite parts of that movie. They're just boring. And you can't. There's nothing he could have done in that movie compared to Saddam Hussein in bed with Satan using two fake dildos to tease Satan into sex.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it's dildos.
It's Saddam Hussein. Like, what the fuck do you want me to say? Like, of course he won. There's no chance gay Saddam Hussein does not win. It's one of the craziest like ideas for a cast. Like deciding they're gonna have Saddam Hussein as a villain and making him gay with the literal devil is so fucking funny. And it's that bit when Satan's like all sensitive and he's asked why he does it from behind, is he thinking of someone else? Like, you've got a big red ass, who would I think of Liza Minnelli? Yeah, it has to be. It has to be that. I also think there's a reason we don't really spend. Huh?
I said I'm actually crying.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't spend as much time with Russ Cargill as we do with Saddam Hussein and Carla's mum, and it's because it's nowhere near as entertaining. Like, not to touch on the music, which we'll get to soon, but Blame Canada is a fucking unbelievable song. And Carla's mum, while she's the villain, she kind of believes what she's doing is right. It feels like Russ Cargill's just being a dick for the sake of being a dick, similarly to Saddam Hussein, but at least she's got that depth to her where she believes in like she's doing the right thing, and then Saddam Hussein's just born in Satan and trying to rule her with his fucking gold.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, 10-9. Saddam Hussein was always going to win. There's no chance he wasn't winning. I could have made that a 10-8 actually, but I didn't. I went 10-9.
Oh yeah, I could have made it a 10-8 to be fair. I don't know if I've done a 10-8 before, but I could have done it.
It would have been worth it. Speaking of 10-8s,
yeah, here we go.
I've got one now. We're going on to music, and it's one of the easiest 10-8s I've ever given, and it's obviously in favour of South Park because it's hard to compare the two really. Simpsons, in terms of music, has got the modified theme tune performed by Green Day, which, don't get me wrong, is decent, and you fucking buzz off it, as I've witnessed many a time. And obviously you've also got like the Spider Pig song, which I feel like every kid in the world was singing after that movie. Like it really, that little song really caught like the zeitgeist, and everyone loved that. And they're good, but the South Park movie is a literal fucking musical with songs like Uncle Fucker, and there's no way
in our chat like should we really do music because it's obvious, but we couldn't think of any other fucking categories.
No, it was the thing is, it was either music where it was obvious South Park would win, or it was animation style, and South Park literally looks like fucking paper, so that would have been harsh as well. But I think one of them had Green Day play, so we can get away with using music there. But the South Park, the music, the musical, the whole shebang with like Blame Canada, like I said, the Uncle Fucker song. I'm probably forgetting a couple. Oh, Carl's Mum's a Bitch, that one.
Right, so we've got Quiet Little Mountain Town, we've got Uncle Fucker, we've got Carl's Mum's a Bitch, we've got Blame Canada, which is fucking brilliant. We've got La Resistance, which is like the fucking melody with all of them. All fucking bangers. Little Boy You Go to Hell When Kenny Goes, which is the Trey and Matt's band, like the creators of South Park, it's their band, but the lead singer of Metallica singing it, which is fucking brilliant. But the absolute best song in South Park, the movie, it's got no swearing in it, so I can get away with putting it on the playlist at work. It's got absolutely no swearing in it, and it's the fucking best. And I know it word for, I know all the songs word for word. I know the entire film word for word. And I will sing it. I will sing the high pitch parts. Pitch Perfect is fucking Satan's Up There song. It is, not only is it the best song in the fucking film, it's probably the best song in any fucking film. It's up there. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, it's the entire soundtrack's brilliant. Like I said to you before, with it being South Park, you'd been forgiven for expecting them to take like the easy way out and it's just be a bit of a piss take. But the actual songs are so well written. Like you said, the La Resistance one, it's like an actual musical, like where they have where they call back to different songs that were in earlier, and it shows like different characters singing those. That's the sort of shit you see in a West End show. It's so funny that they use that sort of thing in the film.
I can't remember which I can't remember which one's which. I remember seeing a thing ages ago where it's like the way South Park music works and makes it work so well is because each song is from a different musical, and the La Resistance song is very like Les Mis, and like each song kind of like parries off of a different musical song, and I just think it helps it work so much better. Because like you say, it doesn't take the piss; it takes itself seriously.
Yeah, not to stray off too far off course here, but I thought it's similar to the Scrubs TV show, and they do their musical episode, every song is in the style of a different type of musical. And I've seen quite a few now with Eleanor, and I can recognize, like, when I hear different songs, it rings a bell for a certain sort of show. And I think that's brilliant. I think it's so well done. And yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the easiest scores I'll ever give, and it was 10-8 in favour of South Park. Even if it was just Uncle Fucker on its own, it would have been 10-8 in favour of South Park.
One of the biggest crimes, and Grace said it last night after I finished watching it, one of the biggest crimes is that the entire soundtrack is not on Spotify. It's really not easy to stream anywhere. It's not easy to buy. Like, I looked up for the vinyl because, as you know, like collecting my vinyls, and it's like 170 quid for the vinyl. I'm like, I might do it.
That's grim, that, as if it's not on Spotify.
No, it is, but like, it's from like recordings, and there is podcasts, and it's like dead shady the way it's done. But like, you can't just listen to it normally, and it's like, why? Because this absolute, like, Kyle's mum is, I know that word for word, probably shouldn't sing all the words word for word, but I know them all word for word. Oh, Mr. Mackey's MK
song,
which fucking gets me every single time when they're like, you shouldn't say fuck. No, you shouldn't say fuck. It's fucking brilliant. Obviously didn't learn the lesson from that song, but yeah, absolutely. Every single one of them's a banger.
There's no question. So yeah, I went 10-8. What score did you go with for that one?
I did go 10-9 because I got to give
Green Day.
I got to give Green Day some love, yeah.
Some love. You've gone against them twice now. You ain't giving him any love.
Yeah, I know, but it's a bit like when they're singing it and they're doing the da da da, and they're looking at the names and the cue card, and it's just got the DA. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah, the Green Day cameos is really well done, and like I said, I've heard that version of the theme tune way too many times now because of you. But yeah, it was no. It couldn't even come close to matching up. Right, what have we got? We've got we've got 2 categories left now. Just the 2.
I think we should do adaptation because we've got to leave the best one for last.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we'll go adaptation then. I'll let you go first this time. And essentially, we're just talking about how we feel like both TV shows, how well they were adapted. I was going to say adapted.
Adapted.
What the fucking word that is. I think I'm a writer. I don't think so. Yeah, how well both TV shows were adapted into the movies that we got.
We spoke about it quite a bit as well. Like, I feel like the Simpsons movie feels still enough like, I'm going to try and get my thought out in a more consistent version this time. It's still got the soul of the TV show, but it's bigger and it feels like a movie. Whereas I said South Park feels like it could be broken up. I think the only thing that differentiates is the musical parts that elevates it. Saying that, I did go 10-9 to South Park because I felt like it stayed truer to what it is. So Simpsons, I think, in the effort to make itself bigger, to make itself feel more like a movie, it pushed it more. Like, it obviously put a dome over the fucking town and made everybody act strange, and like it's that kind of Mad Maxy type bit when the family first goes back in, and like they really like went grand with it, which is fine, and it's what I love about it. But in terms of adapting from the TV show, like, South Park feels like South Park. Like, it doesn't feel like it's trying to impress. It doesn't feel like it's trying to change who it is or to reach a wider audience or anything like that. It unabashedly is like, yeah, we're fucking South Park. This is what you know what we're like. This is what we're fucking doing. It doesn't tone anything down, and I honestly don't think it goes too over the top for what South Park does either. I think it's definitely set the tone as to what came later in the TV shows, but I just think it's so unashamed to be what it is that it adapts itself perfectly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it made a bit more. Although you completely went against what you said earlier, which I enjoy.
What did I say earlier?
You were saying how the Simpsons movie felt more like a movie than the South Park. You said this feels like a TV show, but now you're saying
No, no, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just feel like it like South Park does still feel like a TV show, like, and Simpsons does still feel more like a movie. But I think in terms of the movie itself, South Park stayed truer to what it is rather than what Simpsons did. Don't try and trip me up on my own words. I know what I said.
Yeah, it was a load of shit. No, I went in favour of South Park 2 because I've already said it before. I feel like, huh?
I feel that you're fucking agreeing with me.
Yeah, because I said this before as well. You just switched sides at the end. But yeah, I went in favour of South Park for what I said earlier and how I feel like the Simpsons one, it just feels like several little episodes that were squashed into together and stretched out to make the movie. Whereas South Park, I feel like rose to the occasion and it felt like a big deal. I feel like the inclusion of the music absolutely helped. I think it made it so much more like cinematic. And if you go to the cinema to watch both of these movies after being big fans of the TV show, I feel like the South Park one, it will feel worth. It'll feel like it was worth the price of admission. On the fact that it doesn't feel like it was the TV show for me. Like I said, we got to see Kenny fucking speak. Like it felt like such a big deal. We got to see Satan and Saddam Hussein in one of the most fucking unbelievable love stories of all time. And we got some incredible songs out of it. I think it would have been easy for him to just make, like The Simpsons did, in my opinion, the movie just feel like another episode. But I think with the music, the decision to have Kenny reveal and hear him speak for the first time, I feel like they did such a good job like adapting it. And I feel like it was what was necessary. So yeah, I went 10-9 in favour of South Park. I think it was like really well adapted, to be fair.
Yeah, and you also, like I said, South Park was unashamed to be itself. I think instead of like grander, like Simpsons went grander in its spectacle, South Park went grander in its like crudeness. Like, can you name another film where somebody's called a donkey raping shit eater?
I wish I could because it means I've never seen it, but no, absolutely not. Like some of the fucking lines in that film are just absolutely unbelievable. Like it's absurd what they come out with, which we're about to get onto with the best, probably the deepest quotes category we've ever had. Like there's quotes on both movies that you could probably go through for days. Like there's some unbelievable one-liners.
I feel like it's going to be a race to who can say the best ones first as well.
Well, we'll just name some off. Like The Simpsons is obviously nowhere near as crude or as crass as South Park, but there's some really fucking good lines in that film. My favorite, I think, is when Fat Tony's dumping the body.
Yeah.
And Chief Wiggum sees him and he says it. What does he say it is? Does he say it's hedge clippings or something like that?
Yeah, leaf trimmings or hedge.
Yeah, leaf trimmings. That's it. And I think one of the policemen turns to him and says, so I think that was a body. He said, "No, I thought that too." Until he said it was leaf trimmings. You got to learn to listen, Carl. Like it's so funny.
I like when Lenny and Carl are at the meeting, and Lenny's like, "Black, that's the worst color." No offense, Lenny. And Lenny's like, "I get it all the time."
Oh no, it's the other way around. Lenny's the white one.
Huh? Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Carl's the.
I don't know, Cal. I don't see color.
Oh man, there's some great ones in The Simpsons. To be fair, what's the one? I had one earlier. I made a note of, and I can't remember what it was now. I've literally got the list up of them now. Just
like I just read. There's some great ones. I can't remember any of them, but
no, I made a note of one earlier that I have specifically wanted to mention. I can't remember what it was. It's when Mr. Burns. I can't see it there, but it's just come to me when they go to see him, and he says something like, "Oh, it's about time the white rich man was in control." It fucking killed me. And obviously the one he says at the end about suicide, I think that's fucking comedy gold as well.
I was elected to lead, not to read, or it fucking gets me every single time.
Man.
But one thing we didn't talk, it's not a quote, but one thing we didn't talk about, and I don't know where we would have talked about it, probably in the adaptation part, but how weird is it that we picked two movies with two tiny animated penises in it for just like a short second?
Yeah, that's quite weird. That's like that running gag that you see people say, like, if I had a nickel for every animated movie I talked about this week with a tiny penis gag, I'd have 2, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice.
There's obviously the classics with the worst day of my life, no, the worst day of your life so far. I like when Bart's hanging off the gutter and Ned says, "Are you not afraid you're going to make him a tad paraplegic or some whatever he's
paraplegic."
Paraplegic or something. He does like the Flanderism on it, which obviously I can't repeat because my mouth would work that way apparently.
Yeah, I think also it's only like literally a couple of words, but it's when Bart does the skateboarding naked and Ralph sees him and says, "I like men now."
Yeah, or when she just like, "Don't look where I'm pointing," and it does the thing. Obviously,
we already touched on it. Sorry, the suicidal robot and Chief Wiggum saying, "Oh, he's been talking about it for a while, just didn't believe him," or something like that.
The Harry Plopper and Spider Pig, obviously, but I also like you can't kill him. He's wearing people clothes. Or what is it? Where if she smiles and you're like, "Haha, you smiled him off the hook." I've used that quite a few times.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's so many. I think it's when Flanders says he's got something. The good Lord is telling him to confess something or something like that, and Homer's like crossing his fingers. Or when the mom shows up outside his house, he said he's like trying to defend his family. Said, "No, we'll come for you." He went, "Oh, maybe not you guys, but we'll get Grandpa." You just hear Grandpa Abe shout, "I'm part of the mob."
Or when he says, "I've got a chainsaw," and he does the chainsaw. Oh, Nelson, like short after, "I'm using a red arrow so I can see who I've killed." It's all great. Like with even like from the beginning with Ralph in the 20th Century Fox logo singing along, or when Professor Frink flies by the Simpsons with saying the movie on the big screen. Like, just there is a lot of great quotes and stuff in Simpsons, which makes it really difficult to pick one because there's a fucking lot of good quotes in South Park. Are you trying to find more quotes?
No, I was just scrolling down, yeah. But like you said, there's a lot of good quotes in The Simpsons, but
here we fucking go.
I think there might be just a couple more in South Park. I'm getting them up now so I can get through some good ones because my memory's terrible, so I'll forget stuff. So I'm making sure I have some.
I wrote a few of my favourite with the Kenny, "Hi son, we replace your heart with a baked potato. You got about 3 seconds to live."
Yeah, I love that. We didn't even talk about this podcast, but George Clooney as well. That's so random that George Clooney came in and did that.
Well, he was on ER at the time. Like it was when he was famous on ER.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that, but like he just said he was like a massive fan, so he just did it. And then he's like, "It never gets any easier," and then just fucking whistles off.
Yeah, like he's devastated for about 4 seconds and then just strolls away. It is really good. I mean, there's obviously the one that I loved as a kid that I was quoting. And it's the entire classroom scene, like just.
Which you can't repeat a lot of it.
You are?
Which you can't repeat a lot of it, but it's like,
no, no.
They fucking school, you fucking fat ass.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, why the fuck not? It's like when he says, "How would you like to go to the principal's office?" Like, "How would you like to suck my balls?" And everyone gasped. He's like, when he says, like, "I'm sorry, what I said was, how would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison?"
Yeah. There's also like when you're first watching the Terrence and Phillip movie, and it's like, "You're such a pig fucker," and it's just from there you know what it's gonna fucking be.
Yeah, and it's like when Stan asks Chef is like, how do you convince a woman to like you more than someone else? And he said, "You got to find the clitoris." And when Stan mentions to the group like, "What's the clitoris?" and Cartman says, "Oh, what's that like? Finding Jesus."
There's so many. Like there's the bit. I mentioned it a few times. The whole Conan section fucking makes me laugh, and like. I once farted on the set of Blue Lagoon, and it goes dead quiet, and he fucking slaps it. And then when
that made me laugh out loud.
And then when Conan's fucking like regretting what he's done, it's like, "Conan, we watched it together, we laughed." And he fucking, "What have I done?" and jumps out the building.
Yeah,
one of my favorites from the mole, and he's like, "Did you bring the shovel? Did you bring the butt for?" I'm like, "What's the butt for?" "Well, it's for pooping, silly."
Yeah, that's really funny. There's another one. That's like this one in The Simpsons, actually. So to go back, but when Russ Cargill's like threatening to shoot Bart and Homer, and what does Bart say? He says something similar. It's one of those like puns. It's about he says I'm a something.
The lost treasure of I'm a wiener. I'm a
Yeah,
wiener.
that's it. He said, "What's that?" And then he laughed. That's so funny. There's a lot of the South Park ones that we actually can't repeat, which is a shame because some are really good, but you get cancelled for that sort of shit.
The whole bit where it's like, now say big floppy donkey dick.
Yeah, that's class, man. It is so good.
I like the morning after Kenny visits Cartman in his sleep, and he's like, guys, I saw Kenny. Is like, we see Kenny every day. The smile of any child.
Well, when
baby.
It's when they're doing like the talk thing and they're talking to the Canadian minister, and the thing he says that they've already done by giving us Bryan Adams is like, hey, the government have apologized for Bryan Adams.
It's also when he's like, let me finish. Okay, I'm finished. There's one that's pretty bad, and I feel a bit bad repeating it, but it's a fucking brilliant line in context when he's like, B Squad, you'll be Operation Get Behind the Darkies.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, and I love that when Chef's doing the countdown, it's like 3, 2, and then they move and immediately let them get cut. I love that. I think it's so good.
Or when he's like, have you ever heard of the Emancipation Proclamation? It's like, I don't listen to hip hop.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, regardless of the fact that I can't quote half of the lines in South Park, I went, huh?
I was going to say, if I could remember absolutely every single word that Cartman says in his final Super Saiyan battle, I would fucking do it. But it's just the fact that he ends it all with Barbra Streisand. It just fucking gets me every single time.
It's not even like one quote to me, but and it's so little, but every time Saddam Hussein calls Satan Guy, it's like, hey Guy, I'm like, it kills me every time. Oh man. Everything Saddam Hussein comes out with, to be fair, is funny as hell, which is something I never ever thought I'd say in life.
Yeah, that's very, very true. It's at the beginning as well when Kenny's mum was like, okay, but when you die and go to hell, you have to answer to Satan. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we both know the final score on that one.
Yeah. But I went 10-9 in favour of South Park. I imagine you did the exact same. I was
about to say Simpsons.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I did the same because it's just so fucking quotable and not quotable at the same time. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it especially is. But that brings us to an end then.
One more, sorry, just one more because I need to say it because I fucking love it. And it's when the mole's dying, he's like, "Where is your fucking god now?"
And he hates God. He comes like a little pussy or something like that. It's so funny, that stuff. The mole's a funny character considering he's in it for like very limited time, but he's brilliant.
The call is to make the sound of a dying giraffe. I like when they do it as well. It's like, can somebody hear a dying giraffe?
Yeah, that's really good, man. It's really good. I think as well, it's one line, but it's like when Cartman sings the Carl's Mum's a Bitch song and then stops and turns around, he's like, oh, fuck. And he just sings it, it kills me.
And like when Mr. Hat gets dropped down the hole to hell, and you can just hear, not Mr. Mackey, Mr. Garrison. Mr. Garrison in the background going, Mr. Hayat.
He says a line as well when he's like on the front, when he's on like the front lines. He says something like, "Can't wait to get out of here so I can get some fucking pound tank."
Oh, and that concludes my ping pong ball trick. I didn't miss a single one.
Oh, yeah, we know them. I doing it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Again, Mole when he's being chased by the guard dog, and he's like, "Sheep, fucking guard dogs." Oh, like. Literally immediately before when did you turn off the power? And Cartman's like, the power didn't turn off. It's like, yeah, that's my bad.
We could quote it all day, to be fair.
I could have done this whole episode just on which quote's better.
I know, yeah, but I think it's safe to say that South Park won that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that brings it to an end then. We didn't actually tally this up beforehand, so we'll have to quickly reveal the scores now. I've frozen. It's like I'm on lag. Yeah. So yeah, we'll come back in just a moment with the scores as we quickly find them out and figure them out off camera. Well, that's the scores tallied up, and I can reveal that the winner with 194 to 186 is South Park the movie.
Okay, had to be.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, it surprises me actually now because going in, as I hadn't seen both in years, and South Park was something I hadn't watched at all in a long time. I wasn't sure whether I'd like it as much as I did when I was younger, but it fucking still gets me. It still gets me every time.
It's like I put it on yesterday, and from the first song, me and Grace were already singing. Like, I know majority of the words to that film. There's probably only a few bits that I don't know the words, and from now I'm gonna watch it a few more times to rehearse. But like, I was literally, I said it to Grace before before I watched them yesterday, because I watched them both yesterday. I don't need to watch these movies, especially like I watched Simpsons in the daytime while Grace was at work, and then she came home and we had a lot of like stuff to do. So it kept interrupting the movie. And I was like, to be fair, I don't really need to finish watching this because I've seen it so many times, but I wanted to finish watching it because I fucking love it so much.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the Simpsons movie a lot, but the South Park one, it's a different fucking level. It's just it takes. I mean, it's one of those I think where you've got to have that sense of humor. I think there's a lot of people who won't enjoy that movie half as much as we have. I haven't shown it to Eleanor because I don't think she'd quite enjoy it as much. There's bits where she definitely find funny, but I think they should just be shocked that they were even allowed to say those things. So I haven't shown Eleanor the South Park movie. So yeah, she won't be watching that. But she's watched the Simpsons one and liked it, so she's probably going to be disappointed with the fact it's lost here.
Yeah, she'll get over it.
Yeah, the better movie won.
100%. I mean, they're both. I love both, but not. I didn't want to say anything beforehand because I didn't want to tip any cards. But there's no animated movie I think I love more than South Park.
Not even like you.
Okay, well,
that trash. I don't know. You can praise that movie to the nines and slate the Flash. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to sound like the kind of person, the kind of absolute loser that would scroll back through somebody's letterbox to see what they said about a film. Like, I don't want to be that kind of dickhead. But you gave it 3.5 stars. It's not even that bad score.
No, 3.5's fine. 3.5's fine. It wasn't bad, but it's not one of the fucking best Pixar movies like you seem to think it is. You got 4.5 stars. That's scandalous.
You like the Flash. Let's not.
I do.
Should we do a Flash versus Lightyear episode?
Because that'd be interesting to see how it tie up. Actually, because I'm not. No, you'd be way over the top with your hatred for the Flash.
Me?
You got like 0.5 star for that film. It's fucking scandalous.
Absolutely horrendous. Anyway,
but yeah, that brings another showdown to an end. Then that was a good one. Sometimes we get movies where I like them, but I don't love them. Whereas this time, I really, really enjoyed watching both of these. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I hope the viewers
watching an episode either. To be fair,
huh?
I don't think we've both laughed as much in an episode.
No, definitely not. Some like that Saddam Hussein stuff had us in fucking tears, and for good reason. It's some of the funniest thing that's ever been on film. But yeah, that's brings this one to an end then, guys. We've got something special lined up next week in honor of doing 10 episodes together. Like, I can't believe we discussed doing that special episode, and somehow I still didn't realize. I still forgot that this was the 10th episode. I don't know what the hell's going through my mind.
You've had such an odd week being in Portugal.
Hey, I'm back at uni today, non-stop. Final year. Here we go. But yeah, that was fun. Like I said, we got something special lined up next week, so we'll reveal more about that in due course. But if you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If you want to hear us instead of see us, which Nathan's not wearing the vest today,
no,
so I can understand that.
No.
I'd be fuming too.
I mean, do you know, it is red hot in here, right? It's red hot in this room. It always is. But I made a conscious effort not to wear the vest because somebody called me out for it being my new style.
Yeah, to make sure you didn't want to get typecast as the vest guy.
No, me and Vin Diesel.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you practically look alike anyway. I don't know if that's an insult or not.
It is if I did that, it's pretty.
Well, you don't even really need to do that, do you?
It's only pain.
But yeah, if you are watching it, we are also on things like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. If you want to check us out there, Nathan always says the stuff underneath here.
Yeah.
That I always forget. But if you guys want to find me anywhere else, I'm on Twitter at Callum Altimus. Again, right now I'm all about Rovers because we won at the weekend. So I'm all about it now. Just wait till we lose next week and I'm radio silent for a week and a half. But right now we're winning. I've got an article about Batman coming out soon for Rangers fandom, which I'll be sharing on Twitter, I imagine. I don't really share any football stuff on there because no one really is interested in anything I say other than Blackburn. So I keep all the football articles away from that. But there's an article not ranking per se, but listing 6 Batman villains that we probably need to see in some of the upcoming movies, which I really enjoy writing. So I'll be sharing that on there soon. I'm also on Letterboxd at Caltimus, where I'm dangerously close to 300 movies watched for the year, which will skyrocket once we get into the Halloween season and then Christmas. But I think I'm on like 280 now, so we're getting close. My aim is just to get to that 365 for the year, and I'm going to smash that easy. But where can we find you?
Oh God, my Twitter is at nay_214, which I exclusively talk about Star Wars. Whether it's reposted, I mean, not that anybody likes or follows me anyway, but I will still post because I love it. I do my weekly little mini reviews of Ahsoka, and I talk about a lot, just Star Wars. That's all I talk about. And then Letterboxd at nay214, which I'm not gonna lie, it's taken a bit of a backseat. I've been super busy. I need to get back on. I think my problem is I only log films if I've never logged them before. So South Park and Simpsons, I would have logged, but I've already watched them, so I just don't re-log them. So it just makes it look like I watch fuck all, but I actually just watched a lot of films that I've already watched. But like I said, Halloween season's coming up, so there's a lot more Halloween that I'll be watching. Not Malignant, for that one listener who loves Malignant, who goes out of his way to put Malignant in my face. It's literally the worst film I've ever seen. It's worse than The Flash. So, Dan, if you're listening, fuck you. I will not be watching that shit. But yeah, I'm going to try and get a bit more movies watched this year. By the end of the year, definitely.
Well, we have got a few.
I've got nothing big coming up.
Not at all. No. Nothing bigger than the podcast, anyway.
No.
But we have got a few Halloween-y themed episodes coming in October, so there'll be some horror movies and as such watched then. But yeah, if you guys like this, we hope to see you again next week, which, like I said, is going to be a special episode. So until then, peace out.
I was trying to think, because I usually do like a little joke on the way out, but I'm trying to think, how can we edit it so me and you fly towards heaven and a load of naked ladies?